All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're uncovering a massive liability that's literally hiding in plain sight within the construction lifting industry. And more importantly, we're looking at how a really innovative platform called Atlas Passport is completely solving it. Look, if you plan, approve, or carry any of the liability for lifting operations, you're going to want to stick around because the insights we're unpacking today are absolutely essential.
Okay, picture this very real scenario. It's 6 a.m. on a freezing winter morning somewhere in the UK. A mobile crane starts to settle unevenly into the ground right beneath its outrigger. Maybe there's a void hidden under the concrete apron. Now, the crane doesn't tip over, thank goodness, but the lift is immediately aborted. The load hits the ground hard, a section of scaffolding gets smashed, but nobody is hurt. Phew, it's a classic near miss. But right at that moment, a totally chaotic chain reaction kicks off. You got the principal contractor, the crane hire company, the client's insurer, the HSE, they all descend like hawks, and they all demand answers right now.
And that brilliantly highlights the absolute highest stakes here. Because honestly, there's really only one question that actually matters after an incident like that. Can you prove the setup decision was made correctly? Literally everything that follows. Your legal exposure, your insurance payouts, the regulatory fines, the hit to your commercial reputation, it all hinges entirely on the answer to that one question. Yet, shockingly, most organizations out there just cannot answer it quickly, completely, or frankly, convincingly.
Which brings us to Section 1, the hidden liability, a decision-proving problem.
Here's the absolute crux of the issue. The industry doesn't really have an engineering problem, right? Negligence is actually pretty rare because the folks doing this, they're highly experienced professionals. What the industry actually has is a decision-proving problem. Think about the traditional aftermath of an incident. Companies will literally spend weeks in absolute panic, frantically trying to piece together a decision trail from what? A few fragmented emails? Random WhatsApps? A geotechnical PDF that somehow exists in 4 different versions? Messy paper sign-offs? Trying to defend that scattered mess of evidence in a court of law is basically impossible. But imagine the alternative, having one single, structured, immutable record.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 2. Enter Atlas Passport, a new standard of governance.
So, the beating heart of this whole system is what they call the setup passport. Think of it exactly like your actual travel passport. A travel passport is this universally recognized single document that proves exactly where you've been, right? You can't just casually scribble in it to change your history. Well, Atlas Passport does the exact same thing, but for a crane lift. It's built on one absolutely fundamental rule. In a defensible engineering record, nothing is implied and absolutely nothing is hidden. Every single value has a clear origin, every calculation shows its exact working, and every single assumption is explicitly owned by a named professional. No wiggle room.
Let's look at how this works in practice. Section 3, the guided engineering workflow. So Atlas Passport guides you through a really rigorous workflow. It forces the planner step by step through these overarching phases. First, you set the project in site context. Then, when you select the crane, it automatically pulls the manufacturer's exact specs right into the system, which means no one is ever sitting there trying to retype rated capacities from memory, because we all know how that goes. From there, you move through AI ground data ingestion, explicit engineering calcs, and finally, this crucial assumption register where someone has to put their name on every assumption. And here is the real kicker. The platform literally will not let a passport progress until the strict requirements of every single stage are met. So having an incomplete record, it's structurally impossible. You just can't do it.
Now, I want to pause and emphasize this really heavily because it is a huge distinction when we talk about liability. The software does not replace the appointed person's engineering judgment. It is not some magic black box that certifies the safety of the lift on its own. The human stays 100% in command. Atlas Passport is just an incredibly robust tool built to capture, preserve, and protect their expertise. So every single engineering decision still rests squarely on the shoulders of the qualified professional making it.
Okay, Section 4, AI document intelligence, reading the dense reports.
Listen, if you've ever planned a lift, you already know that geotech reports are, well, they're a massive chore. You're staring down dozens of pages of super dense borehole logs and test results while the clock is ticking. Manually pulling the ground-bearing capacity out of that is a solid 20-minute headache, and it's so easy for tired eyes to miss a critical detail. Well, Atlas Passport completely flips the script on this.
It uses Claude AI to extract those primary bearing values and identify distinct ground zones, and it does it with a confidence score that is consistently above 95%.
So instead of hunting blindly through a 50-page PDF, the system just instantly hands you this beautifully structured summary. It pulls the value, the specific zone it applies to, gives you a confidence score, and, this is brilliant, it gives you the exact location quote from the original document. Most importantly, it catches those easily missed caveats, things like a 25% reduction for dynamic loading. But remember what we just talked about? The human is still the boss. The AI does all the heavy lifting, pun intended, to remove the drudgery. But the appointed person absolutely must explicitly confirm that data before it's ever used as an active engineering input.
Moving on to Section 5, the Incident Defense Bundle, the ultimate shield.
All right, so you've got this perfectly planned, fully documented lift. Amazing. But what happens when, despite all of that prep, something actually goes sideways on site? This is exactly where Atlas Passport proves its worth commercially. When an incident goes down, you just click one button, just one, and it instantly generates this print-ready incident defense bundle. Think about that. Instead of spending 3 frantic weeks turning your office upside down looking for lost emails, you just hand this complete, undeniable bundle straight to the HSC inspector or the loss adjuster, probably before they've even finished their initial site walk. I mean, talk about a stress reliever. It literally has the whole shebang: chain of custody, every single calculation with step-by-step working, the assumption register, and a complete decision ledger showing exactly why every choice was made.
But the real, absolute magic of this bundle is the cryptographic locking. Look, any engineering record that you can just go back and tweak after the fact, it's basically worthless in a legal dispute. Opposing lawyers will eat that for breakfast. But Atlas Passport actually generates a cryptographic content hash the exact millisecond final approval lands. That lock mathematically proves that the record you are holding in your hand today is 100% identical to the moment it was signed off. It's bulletproof. It completely shuts down any opposing legal assumptions before they even start.
So, what does this actually mean for the business? Section 6, Commercial Value and Adoption.
The financial logic here is just a total no-brainer. Think about the scale for a second. You've got this massive, terrifying 6-figure baseline for legal and investigation costs if a crane incident happens. Then, add on top of that the constantly rising insurance premiums for lifting operations, which, by the way, are going up mostly because insurers can't defend claims when the paper trail is garbage. Now, weigh all of that massive company-sinking exposure against the near-invisible cost of generating a locked, mathematically proven Atlas Passport.
It's 35 quid. I'm not kidding. After you use your 5 free trials, it is literally just £35 per locked passport. You can sign your organization up in under a minute. No massive painful IT integrations, no ongoing subscriptions, no per-seat licenses, nothing like that. When you compare £35 against the massive day rate of a mobile crane or the nightmare cost of an aborted lift, it is, without a doubt, the absolute cheapest liability insurance a lifting operation could ever possibly buy.
Because it really all boils down to this one harsh reality, perfectly captured in this quote. In the highly professional world of construction lifting, it's rarely negligence that gets you. The organizations that suffer the absolute worst financial and reputational damage are the ones who actually did everything right, but they relied on a fragile, broken system of emails and paper to record it. Just doing the right thing isn't enough anymore. You literally have to be able to prove it, mathematically.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on regarding your own operations. Think about how your business is planning its lifts for tomorrow morning. Are you still relying on a fragile trail of emails, WhatsApps, and unchecked assumptions? Or are you actually prepared to mathematically prove your exact decision-making process the second an investigator sets foot on your site? Because honestly, the true cost of an undocumented decision is just way too high to ignore. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gave you a powerful new perspective on the future of digital governance in lifting operations.